We're working for your money. Thursday is Veterans Day, and so on this Money Monday, some of the top issues for veterans and their families. We get a lot of calls and emails about this all year long, so we bring in George Wells of Legacy for America, wealth management firm in Auburn Hills, and next to him is veterans attorney Pat Simasco from the Simasco Law Firm in Macomb. Let's start at the very beginning. It sounds like a crazy question, but veterans benefits, who's eligible? Veterans, of course, but it's more than that.
It is much more than that. A lot of the questions we get, Murray, is am I eligible? What does it take for us to be eligible? Do I have to have been injured during service? Is there any benefit available for my spouse? And the paperwork that's involved. What documentation do I need? Right. Do I need a professional to help me? How do I know whether I have too much or have not enough?
Wow, a big plate there to start answering questions. Pat, you answer some of them through the legal aspect of it. Sure. What are you finding today? First of all, what do they have to do to start? You have to have some documentation.
Well, first of all, you have to establish that you are a wartime veteran. This benefit is designed for people to be able to stay at home longer in their house or maybe help pay for assisted living care. So we need your discharge papers. We need doctor's note that say that you need aid and attendant care. And you also need paperwork to make sure that your family has the ability to help take care of you with medical power of attorneys and financial power of attorneys.
Now, there is money for a lot of people who don't realize it. Tell me about that. There's different kinds of money that we're talking about, different kinds of benefits here.
There's different kinds of benefits, Murray, and what we're talking about is the Veterans Aid and Attendance Benefit, which allows veterans age 65 and older more time to be able to stay in their home, to be able to receive subsidized care for this money that's been set aside for the veterans.
All right, now this is for veterans who were in a war period. This is not to be confused with normal veterans' pensions.
Right. Compensation is the benefit that veterans get if they were hurt in the service. If you were just a wartime veteran or a surviving spouse of a wartime veteran, you're going to be eligible for this benefit if you need the help later on in your life.
All right, at the beginning, George, you rattled off a lot of those questions. Let's try to answer some of them right now. For spouses, what do they have to do?
For spouses, it follows the same rules as what it does for the veterans, but the spousal benefit that's available is $1,000 a month for a widow or surviving spouse of a veteran.
Now, they have to have a lot of documentation for that. I remember when we talked about that last year, quite frankly, a lot of people were confused. VA officials were answering their telephones saying, we're swamped with people. We don't know how to answer some of these questions, so that was at the Veterans Administration. You have to have the documentation. You also have to have documentation for Medicaid consideration as well. And adult children need to start accumulating some of their documents. Let's talk about, first of all, the Veterans Administration. What do I need to do when I call them up?
What you're asking for is the application for aid and attendant care. You're going to need the application. You're going to need a doctor's note. You're going to need to have a list of your medical expenses. You're going to need to have an authorized representative appointed for you so that can deal with the Department of Veteran Affairs.
That's an awful lot to get together. Now, how does Medicaid work into this?
Medicaid, you have to be real careful because there's asset limits for VA benefits, and people think they can just give away their assets. But when you do that, there's a new Medicaid law that has a 5-year look back. So whatever you do for VA planning, you absolutely have to take into consideration any Medicaid benefits that you may need in the future.
So in other words, if your assets, if your worth, your house and your car and your income from somewhere is more than, what, $40,000 for an individual, $80,000 for a couple, you have to work with somebody like a financial planner and an attorney to separate that, spread those out a little bit.
Well, you have to be careful how you label what assets, because a car and a house is treated different than a CD or a mutual fund. And the key is, Murray, the big warning, planning for the Veterans Aid and Attendance Benefit and planning to be able to qualify for Medicaid benefits is almost exactly opposite. So the financial tools and the financial strategies that you're utilizing in preparing for the Veterans Aid and Attendance Benefit may be exactly the opposite.
Are you confused? If you're confused, you're on the right track because it's very confusing. Here's what we want you to do. MyFoxDetroit.com. We have a link to a website that they have supplied for us. We have all other information that we've been compiling for the last year when these questions come up. So it's MyFoxDetroit.com. The link is Money Monday. Pat Samasco, thank you for being with us. George Wells, as always, thank you for being with us. And I'll see you tonight on Fox 2 News beginning at 5 with Money Works, The Job Shop, and more of the money news that you need to know.